Welcome to the Louder Voice. We just studied an incredible lesson from the life of Joshua, found in Joshua chapter 10. Now I've got to set the table for you. Joshua is the commander and the leader of the nation of Israel. God has set things up where they're really conquering the people in order to obtain the land that God has given to them. So in the process of that, there is a group of people from a city known as Gibeon. They're part of the people that Joshua is supposed to conquer. Well, they realize that Joshua and his God are mightier than they are, and they don't want to be conquered. So they devise this scheme. And so they put on some old tainted clothes. They make sure that the animals that they ride in look tattered, old wineskins, old shoes. And they show up and they tell Joshua and the other leaders of Israel that they are from another country. Well, Joshua and the leaders were initially a little bit skeptical, and so they investigate the wineskins and their clothing, and they do a little bit of recon. They're checking things out to make sure that these people are who they say they are. Well, once they come to the conclusion that these people are not part of the land they're supposed to conquer, they make a treaty with them. And they say, yes, you can come join us, we'll let you live. Well, in the process of that, it comes out that they're not who they said they were, that they're actually from a neighboring land that Joshua had plans to conquer. Well, what does he do? Well, one of the unique things is we find out this. Verse 14 tells us that although Joshua and the leaders did their investigations, there's this one statement that says, but they did not seek the face of the Lord. You see, it's always good to do your investigation. It's always good to be pragmatic and think things through and weigh the pros and the cons. But all of our analytical thinking means nothing if we're not coupling that with seeking the face of God. You see, they did everything right from an outward appearance. They were looking intently at the situation, but they did not couple it with prayer. Hey, let me remind you of something. We all say we believe in prayer, but prayer changes things. It unlocks the gates of heaven. Matter of fact, just last night in my own quiet time, I read a story where Joshua asked God to keep the sun from going down. And so the sun continued to shine just because of one man's prayer. Think about that. One man's prayer moved the hand of God to even alter the physics of the earth's rotation and the shining of the moon and the sun. So the next thing is, once Joshua finds out that these people are not who they say they are, he has a decision to make. Are we going to go ahead and annihilate them? Maybe we should break our treaty because they deceived us. But Joshua said this, we must keep our word lest we suffer a curse. You see, I grew up, my granddad was always one of my heroes, and my granddad said, you are only as good as your word. He would say, your word is your law, your word is your bond. Any man that's not good for his word, my grandfather would say, is not good for anything. Put yourself in that situation. I mean, you enter into a contract and then you find out the people that you entered the contract with deceived you. Well, what did Joshua do? Joshua said that although he had been deceived, he had given his word and his oath and he would stand by it. Now, sure, there were consequences for the Gibeonites. They became woodcutters and water haulers. But there's an important lesson there about the importance of not making commitments that you cannot keep, following through on what you say you will do. If there's ever been a time in history maybe where people have been dishonest or less good for their word, it may be now. So what is the main two things that we learned in this Bible study? Number one is this. We got to make sure that we're seeking the face of God. It doesn't mean you got to spend 2 hours a day praying. It just means that as you go throughout your day, you're talking to God and you're laying before Him the things that are going on in your life. You're asking for His wisdom, His guidance, His blessing, His direction, His protection. Because anytime you begin to make decisions outside of the will of God, you're going to find yourself in trouble. My mother used to tell me, don't ever make big decisions or significant decisions in the midst of a great high or a tremendous low. The second thing is let's be people that keep our word. Let's do what we say we're going to do, even if it's in some way going to hurt us. Great lessons from a great leader in the life of Joshua. I hope you'll read it. We'll see you next time on the Louder Voice.